Investors are keeping an eye on the stock market these last few weeks of 2021. It's been a steady year, but since Thanksgiving, the market has been a little unsteady. Lena Mills is the Chief Investment Officer at Legacy Trust. She's here now with some insight about what's happening and also what we might be able to expect in the coming weeks. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So what's causing this recent volatility?
Certainly, I think the volatility we saw immediately following Thanksgiving was related to the new variant of the coronavirus. Fortunately, in the days since, we've really seen a fair amount of recovery since that initial sell-off. I think anytime we have new developments around the pandemic, because that can have such a substantial impact on the underlying economy, the stock market is naturally going to react to that.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about inflation now. Do you see that impacting the markets the first part of next year?
Inflation is definitely a key issue on investors' minds right now. Obviously, we've seen these numbers come in very high here throughout 2021, and we do think the numbers are going to stay elevated into 2022. I would say that I think at this point, however, I think most investors are expecting that inflation is going to remain elevated. The information has been out here for some time. So I do believe it's largely priced into the market at this point in time. And I think that's probably partly the driver behind some of this extra volatility here in recent weeks, was investors kind of adjusting their expectations and pricing that in.
There are still a lot of positive indicators related to the economy. So do you see this bull market continuing into the new year?
Yes, it's always difficult to say in the short term, but we do feel pretty optimistic going into 2022. Again, we think that the underlying U.S. economy is quite healthy, believe it or not, even with inflation being a little bit higher right now. There's a lot of consumer demand right now, and we expect that to increase into next year as hopefully we continue to move further along down the path with the pandemic and further into recovery. And so if spending is strong, that's obviously a key driver for company earnings, and that should help continue to support the stock market at higher levels. So we do think that the bull market will continue into next year. I wouldn't necessarily get my expectations up for as big a year as what we saw this year and last year with these kinds of significant double-digit returns that we've had in the stock market the last couple of years.
Well, Lena, we really appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.